Hey, how's it going everyone? This is YLAM here. In today's video, I want to take a look at the Fujifilm 16mm f1.4 lens. Specifically, I want to look at this lens in terms of using it as a video lens, so creating YouTube content, which is what I've been using this lens for, and also the photo aspects of this lens. Now, I am going to concentrate on the video portion because this is a YouTube channel and I am using this lens more for creating video content than creating photo content. We already know, just based on all the other reviews, how great of a lens this is for creating photo, but I'm going to go ahead and cover mainly at the beginning of this episode about the video capabilities of this lens. So before we actually get into that part of it, I just want to show you the construction of this lens. This is an all metal lens, which is great. For me specifically, I actually bought this lens used. If you can tell, there's definitely some dings to this lens because it is a well-used lens. But this is the reason why I like Fuji lenses, because they're very robust in their construction. This specific one has a manual focus ring that you actually have to trigger in order to get to manual focus. So if you push down, it'll bring you to the manual focus and then you can focus it manually. The throw is not too bad, but it is more for the photo side than the video side. So it doesn't even rotate all the way around for the complete focusing of its entire range. But they do have hard stops, so that's actually very useful in video if you want to use it, which, you know, for certain subjects, you definitely want the manual focus. But you can go ahead and push up and then the ring actually locks, so this no longer moves. So this is something important to talk about. In terms of aperture, the aperture ring is down here. It clicks very nicely, but it's actually very easy to accidentally bump this and move it to a different aperture. This is one of the things that I don't like about it. As I said before, this lens is a f1.4, so it's capable of letting in a lot of light. This is going to be great for low light situations, or if you just want to go to f2.8, in which case you're going to be able to get a much crisper image, less vignetting effect when you go to f1.4. So this is a great capability. It's something that all of us really love in terms of getting prime lenses. We always want very fast primes. In terms of video, what this allows us to do is it allows us to get very shallow depth of field, or as I've already said, if you're going to be recording in very dark places, letting in that much light will mean that you will get less noise in your video. Lastly, we look back here, we do have a gasket, so this is something that's weatherproof, and of course the mounting is all metal, so that's great. On this side, just want to show you, this is what the lens look like, and it does take a 67mm thread for your ND filters. So let's go ahead and talk about the video capabilities of this lens. If you watch my previous video, in which case I went to the Bullet Bourbon Distillery, I used this lens the entire day for all of my video and all of my photos, and it performed admirably. But it does have some gotchas. Specifically, this lens has no image stabilization. So if you don't want to use a tripod, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to use the Fujifilm's X-H1 because it has an in-body stabilized sensor. Without that, you're not going to be able to move around with this lens. It's going to look very jaggedy. It's not going to look very good. Now, having said that, if you do put it on the X-H1 and you do kind of watch how you walk, you will get a pretty smooth image stabilized image. I think it's very usable in a vlogging sense, but if you want to use it, say, in a movie or something of high production, you're going to have to put it on one of the gimbals that like DJI or one of the other brands make. So keep that in mind. If you do use it on a tripod, it gives a very beautiful image. I think it's very crisp, it's very nice. You can really tell the details of the lens. I mean, that's what we want from a prime lens, and you can definitely see it. So that is a very cool thing. Now, having said all that, if you look at the focusing ability, if you're going to be walking around with this lens and you're going to be using continuous autofocus, when the image or when the camera focuses, it does provide a small bit of distortion. It's not noticeable, but if you're looking for it, you do see a little bit of it. So keep that in mind. What I find is that if I go ahead and walk around outside, and I'm also using continuous autofocus, you really won't notice it. You only notice it in kind of darker situations where the camera itself is having trouble doing autofocus. That's what I've noticed from the XH1. On the when I'm outside and there's plenty of light coming in, the autofocus system works really well. It does struggle a little bit more for vlogging purposes when it's in a darker environment. So let's go ahead and talk about slow motion. Obviously, this is something that I enjoy doing, and there's a lot of YouTubers that are doing the exact same thing. This lens is a great lens for slow motion if you have a stabilized sensor or if you're working with a gimbal. Again, that image stabilization is going to come into play, but what I found is that the slow motion that I took, it's a very crisp image. It looks very good. Anything that's really, wrong with the slow motion is most likely the operator, in which case this is me just not being able to capture it just because of the situation that I'm in. But I would have no issues just using this for capturing slow motion, especially in areas where it's very dark, getting that nice low f-stop, being able to capture a lot of light in. This is going to be a great lens for any low light situations. I found myself in a couple of situations where I did not have this lens with me and it was in a very dark area and I couldn't capture the slow motion. So if I had the bag space or if I could have it with me at all times, I would actually bring this lens with me because it is a great lens for low light situations when capturing slow motion. So let's go ahead and talk about the photo capability of this lens. There's plenty of reviews out there talking about how great of a lens it is for taking photos, and I'm not going to discount that. I'll bring up some pictures that I took, and I really love the crispness. I love how fast it works. It is a great lens for taking photos. So at 16 millimeters, that translates to about a 24 millimeter crop. That is a great lens to be walking around with. It's also a great millimeter for just general purpose vlogging because it's wide enough to be able to encompass your face, but yet it's small enough as a lens to be able to easily carry around with you. And at 1.4, you can get really creative in terms of using focus in out of focus areas, definitely get some really nice bokeh, or go into a very dark area and be capable of actually capturing an image without too much noise in it. So the last thing that I want to talk about is your choice of video lenses specifically for creating YouTube content like vlogging. Which one should you really look at and which one's better for your particular needs? These I feel are the best candidates for YouTube content. So we have the 10 to 24 f4. We got the kit lens, which is the 18 to 55. I think it's f2.8 to f4. And then we have the 16 millimeter f1.4. These are the three that I own. I enjoy using every one of these, and I think every one of these can have its purpose. For a general purpose vlogging lens, you really can't beat the 18 to 55 because it's so lightweight. It's also cost effective, but it still provides a great image both in video and photo. Now, if you were to go with like a adventure slash wide open area space, I think the 10 to 24 might be the one that you want to look at because it provides such a nice image. Plus it can go really wide so that if you're standing still in one place, you will get a lot more of the background while you're vlogging yourself. So that's really great. It does suffer from some distortion issues when you're using it in video and moving it around. So you have to be careful of that. Now, when it comes to 16 millimeters, what I would love about this particular lens is that it would be a great lens for like a tripod setup. So if you have a setup specifically where you're going to talk to your audience and it's going to be stationary, I feel like this is the best lens for you. It has a really nice crisp image. It's also very fast so that, if you're not working with a lot of light, it can still give you a really nice image and you don't have to bump up your ISO. Plus with the f1.4, you can set it at f2 or f2.8 and really blow out that background, giving you a nice focus. That's something that I really appreciate and I love about the Fuji systems. So this is a great lens for something like that. But what you want to do is you want to vlog with it on the outside and also take pictures. This is equally capable as the 18 to 55. The only thing that you would give up is that you would not have the telephoto ability, which is it comes in useful for certain cases, especially if you're taking pictures. Now, if you're just purely vlogging, I think the 16 millimeter will do just fine. When I'm actually doing product videos, I do prefer using the 10 to 24 just because it gives me such a wide image. But right now what I'm using is my backup 18 to 55, which I'm using to record right now with it. I would use this particularly for myself. I would use this as a vlogging setup in a stationary environment. Like for this studio, I would opt to use the 16 millimeters because it's just such a great lens. So there are your options. I think all of these are great. If you have the budget, I would definitely own all of these because I think all of them are valuable when you're creating YouTube videos. This lens right here I just recently purchased, and I definitely am very happy with that purchase. I definitely will use it in low light situations, vlogging myself in studio setups, and occasionally I would bring it out with me if my 18 to 55s are being used elsewhere. Would I opt to use the 16 millimeter over the 18 to 55 on my daily, carry kit? I probably would not, just because these lenses right here, they're a little bit smaller, they're a little bit lighter, plus I also get the telephoto capabilities. It's just more versatile. Whereas this one, it's kind of me knowing that I'm going to go out and do something specific for videos or photos. I would opt to bring this, or if I needed to use, or if I'm going to a place where I know I'm going to be in a low light situation, this would definitely be a great lens for it, and I would definitely use this lens.